perfect health. Sounds like a lofty statement. The thing is, you're never going to be more healthy than you are already. So one thing to understand before we go into this topic is that you're perfectly healthy right now. And if you have any illnesses or ailments, that only signifies that you're perfectly healthy. Because that means that that which is healthy, which is your guidance system, is actually working. So whenever you get a little sick, whether it's just a cold or a flu, or whether it's cancer, or whether it is feeling crippled or getting aches all over, whatever type of physical ailment occurs, it is a sign of health. It is a sign that you're perfectly working, that your guidance system is perfectly at work. Otherwise, you would not get sick. So sickness is actually a sign of perfect health. Does that make sense? So you're always going to be perfectly healthy. You can't change that. You can't add to that. You can't take away from that. You're always going to be perfectly healthy until you die. And then you're still perfectly healthy, but things work a little differently. But in terms of the physical body being here, it will always be a perfect representation of your thoughts. It will always be a perfect indicator of whether or not you're living in alignment with who you really are, with what you really want to be. So in a sense, there's two definitions of health. One is the never-changing, ever-present, perfect health that you can't get rid of, which is your indicator guidance system, which lets you know whether or not your mind is in alignment with your soul, so to speak. You can't change that, doesn't matter what you do. And then we can talk about health in terms of how you actually feel, how you physically feel, whether or not you feel healthy, whether or not you look healthy, whether or not you feel vibrant or you feel not so vibrant. Now, all physical ailments are the result of misaligned thought. Pretty much. There is some rare exceptions, meaning that sometimes we choose certain disabilities because we know that it's going to facilitate particular lessons that we otherwise would not go in the direction of learning. We would not move into certain directions of thought and exploring life if we did not include these seeming limitations in our physical makeup when we either get born physically or if we develop it over time. But in general, we can state that all physical ailments, that all physical disease, all physical illness, all physical discomfort is in some way a reflection, an indicator of misaligned thinking. What do I mean by thinking? I mean your way of seeing. How you see life needs to be in alignment with who you are. If how you see life is not in alignment with how life actually works, how it's actually seen from who you really are, then you will start to feed this misalignment into the physical vehicle. Now that takes a while. You have some leeway in that, meaning that first, if you have a negative thought, then that itself is already an indicator. If you don't pay attention to the negative thought, then you'll start to feel bad real soon, emotionally speaking. That is the second indicator. If then you continue to not pay attention and clear up the thought, then eventually it will transfer itself into the physical apparatus. And that's when we have illness, disease, etc. But there's a lot that goes on, that happens before that stage is reached. So let me just give a little disclaimer that this is all my personal experience, this is all my personal opinion, this is all my personal view. And obviously this is not in any way medical advice, nor does it counter any medical advice. But I will make the statement from my own personal point of view that every ailment you have is reversible. Every physical discomfort that you have is quote-unquote healable. There is no condition, if you're still alive, if you're still conscious, if you can still hear my voice, if you can still pay attention to who you are, there's no condition that cannot be reversed, that cannot be healed, in other words. Because if you're still alive, that means not all hope has been lost yet, from the higher self's point of view. Sounds a little morbid, and in a way it is, because the higher self is feeding you these signals. It's letting you know whether or not you're in or out of alignment. Now, if you cross the threshold of never paying attention anymore, like once the higher self recognizes that you're just too damn old in your thinking, not necessarily physically, you're just too damn rigid, you're just too damn stubborn, you're just too damn arrogant, you're just too damn insistent upon what you think is true and how life works and what is real and what's not real, that it's so unlikely that you'll ever get back to realizing that you're the creator of your reality, that you can shift your condition. Then at some point, higher self goes, well, this is a waste of my consciousness. Let's just drop dead. And then the disease will increase, or the cancer, or whatever it is, or the bus will approach you at 90 miles an hour while you're stepping out in front of it. Something will occur that will eliminate the waste of time that you are. The waste of time that your mind has become. No judgment in that. It's just very clear observation, very clear discernment from the higher self that goes, oh, well, I passed the threshold in this particular incarnational experience. I passed the threshold of being able to listen. So right now I'm just a random zombie. I'm just a walking dead person. So that's a waste. To consciousness, that's a waste of exploration. And it might as well take that portion of its consciousness back, reabsorb it into its entirety, and then from that place decide how next to express itself. To learn again, to wake up even more, to empower itself even more. Does that make sense? So all disease, including death, signifies either having reached or having passed the threshold of stubbornness, or, speaking about death, or simply weariness, meaning that you have extracted all that is of interest to your exploration, that is available for you within this plane of probable realities. So at some point it's easier to just pop out. I'm talking about death right now, just to clarify. It's easier to pop out once you've explored pretty much anything that you want to explore within this realm, and there's not that much more that this particular plane can offer you experientially, than to move on to something else. Again, at that point too, this has become, in a sense, a waste of consciousness, which is the same as saying a waste of time, because time is consciousness and consciousness is time. So, let's say that that's not the case. You're still here, and there's still something to explore for you. It's still interesting for you to be here, otherwise, obviously, you'd be dead. So since you're still alive, not all hope is lost. And for most of you, it's even more bright than that statement. It's brighter than that statement. Your condition is more optimistic than that statement, which means that you're actually actively exploring what it's like to consciously explore more of your theme and to actually be a listening ear, to be a channel for your higher self. So since that's the case for most of you, and since that's the intention with which you came here, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here. If you were somewhere in between being hopeless and being optimistic, you would probably not be here. But you're ranging from optimistic and hopeful to ecstatic, blissful, and excited. Anywhere in that range, most of you will probably be able to categorize themselves. So, definitely not all hope is lost. In fact, life is becoming more exciting to you. It's becoming more quote-unquote hopeful. Not hopeful in the fearful way, but hopeful in terms of there is light at the end of the tunnel of not having listened to who I really am, to having taken physical and circumstantial and other people's words over my own inner voice, not having listened, not having paid attention to that guidance mechanism. But now I am. That's why I'm here. So congratulations. This is exciting. Now that you are consciously on this path, you also have a real shot at pretty much perfect health. Or I could even omit pretty much. It really depends on your level of alignment, your level of clarity, your level of commitment and willingness. As soon as I don't pay attention to the subtle degrees that I am called to pay attention these days, for a particular period of time, I start to get symptoms as well. I start to notice physicality responding in a certain way as well. And it's always a calling for me to pay more attention, to discover something else, to take a new avenue in life, to breach a new wall, to carve a new path, to think in different ways, to eliminate some thoughts of doubt and lack and separation in some way. Not so much separation anymore, but lack sometimes. Subtle assumptions of lack that I had not seen before in that particular context will be shown to me first through negative thinking, then through negative emotions, and then through negative physical experiences, just as it works for you.